Hello everyone, Calvinator here and welcome to another Mastering MFL video. Today I want to talk about quite a big topic that I have not covered before in this Mastering MFL series or in other videos, which is testing. Probably one reason why I didn't talk about it before is that I'm not the biggest tester. I have not been testing like so much. I also have 8 teams and it always feels a bit overwhelming to test for all of those teams. But this season, something triggered me. That is because my top team, Casablanca Corsairs, last season they relegated from gold and they went back to silver. So I thought should be easy to get back up. I stacked it. I added even some legendaries. But then, as you can see here, what happened in the first match? 4-1 loss. That was quite a wake-up call. Then 3-1 win. I was like, okay, is this tactic maybe secretly working? But then 0-0, 0-0 draw, and another 0-0 draw. After that, I thought, I really need to test if this tactic works. If I really want to promote back to gold straight away, I need to have a tactic that works. So I need to do some testing. So I want to show you some of the tests I run, how I did the testing, and in general, what are like some tips if you want to do some testing too, what things do you need to keep in mind. In the first part of the video, I'll show you the testing I did. And in the second part, I explain some kind of details about testing and some tips for you if you also want to do it. So again, a disclaimer, I'm not the biggest tester and I'm not, I would say, the biggest tactics expert, but maybe that's actually perfect for this video as like a little introduction. How can you get started and then what other steps can you take? So let's dive straight into it and I'm going to show you the testing I did and which conclusions I could draw from it. As you can see, in the end the testing kind of worked because I won the last 4 games. So I did find some tactic that works for me. So hopefully you can do the same after this video with your testing. So what was the testing I did? Let's jump into it. So right here you can see a lovely Excel sheet with a lot of numbers and colors, and probably you're a little bit confused and don't really know what's going on, so let me guide you through it. So what was my setup is that I play 3 times 8 matches with 3 different tactics against my own team, Black Sea FC. What is good about it is that I control this team, so I really know their team instructions and I know which formation they play. And then with my other team, the main team I just talked about, Casablanca Corsairs, I used 3 different tactics so I could see what is the effect, what does it change if I use a different tactic. For each tactic, I put the team instructions below. Individual player instructions were the same. So I changed 3 tactics, played 8 matches, and then we can see what happens exactly. Later on in the second part, I explained that there's probably a lot of better ways to do testing, but this is a very basic thing, just against one team, which is always the same. Do I do better? What is the effect if I change some things around? So that was the initial setup. And then for each match, I write down a couple of things. I write down some data. So the goals, the XG, the total shots, and the shots on target. I write it down for all the 8 matches and also who's the winner. Already interesting to see is that because both teams are rather similar, it can really go to either side. And this is always the case in MFL. It's a bit like if Chelsea or Arsenal play against each other. Probably both teams are going to win some of the matches and there will be some draws. But it's about getting an edge and winning more times than the other. So maybe 4 times instead of 2 times. So getting a little bit of an edge, doing relatively better most of the times. So you can see that's pretty much for all the different tactics. That's although in the final one I did win more, but more about it later. So what then can you see based on all of that data? What is like the conclusion? So from those 8 matches, I have a total, of course. So 8 matches, I scored 8 goals with this tactic, 8.44 XG, and I can see what the opponent Black Sea FC did too. And then I look at some kind of metrics that help me understand, is this a good tactic or not? So for example, I look at the goal shot on target ratio. So how many shots on target become goals? So 0.42 against 0.29 from the opponent. So that seems promising. More of my shots on target go in than his. I also look at the shots on target, total shots, the goals per total shot, and I think the most important for me is the XG performance. So of the XG generated, do I really score more than the XG, than the expected goals, or do I score less than the expected goals? So in this case, I scored 0.44 less than the expected goals, and the opponent scored 1 goal less than the expected goals. So from a defensive point of view, that is good, but from an attacking point of view, of course, that is very bad. So this was my first tactic. But then if we look at my second tactic, I'll zoom in a little bit more that you can see it. I did much better. So I scored way more goals. That is already great. That's what you want. You want to score a lot of goals. And the most important thing is that I scored 2.89 goals more than the XG. So I outperformed my XG while the opponent kind of scored the same amount. So it's like about 0. So defensively it's all right, and offensively I did much better, which is great. Of course, the data, you have to look at, sometimes you're a bit lucky, score 4 goals out of 1.9 XG, so that pollutes the data a little bit. But on average, from 8 matches, that looks much better than tactic 1. And then if we look at tactic 3, again, I don't outperform or underperform, I kind of score exactly the expected goals, while the opponent did much worse, -8. So maybe this tactic defensively is much better, and this is like an okay offensively tactic. So those 3 sets give me kind of an indication which team instruction, which kind of setup does better against this one particular team. It shows me which scores the most goals, which is defensively maybe a bit better. I wouldn't say I can take too many conclusions from it, but it does give me some indication of what can work. So this is a super basic testing setup. I think you can also just play 8 to maybe 10 matches against the same team and kind of see how many goals you score. And for me, what I told you is the most important is this XG performance. Am I over or underperforming with the XG? Maybe also the conversion rate of shots and shots on target. Maybe the chances you create are just tons of shots from distance and they technically count as a shot on target, but of course the chance of them going in is very small. Or maybe you're creating much better chances where almost all the shots go in. So this can also give you indications. All right, let's move on to the second part, some general info about testing, some tips, what you could do, and my final thoughts about testing in general. Okay, so a little bit information about testing in general. What I think is one of the most important things to understand in general about the engine and about MFL is that randomness and luck, like in real life, play a big role. In all kinds of sports, luck plays a big role, randomness plays a big role. This is especially important when you're testing. The sample you use should be big. So one match, if you're testing one match against some opponent here and there, that is definitely not good, like a definitive proof that your tactic is working. So the single results don't matter that much. You want to see trends with bigger sample sets. I think this is quite logical. You all understand this, but it's important to remind you of this. So the bigger the sample set, of course, the better. I just showed you what was my approach. Those 3 tactics, 8 matches per tactic against one team, that at least there's some consistency from that. There's not variety there, variables, there. And then I just look at the result. Do I win? Am I winning more than the opponent? Do I score a lot of goals? So and also the effectiveness, out of the XG, do I score a lot of goals? do I convert a lot of shots on target into goals or shots in general? It's what I just showed you. That's what I'm mainly looking at this basic form of testing. But if I would do it properly, and if you want to do it properly, I think there's a couple of things you can improve, or you probably should improve. First of all, is the sample size. 8 matches, there is still quite a bit of RNG luck that can pollute the data. Probably a better sample size is at least 20 matches to maybe 30, 40, maybe even 50 matches. Then you can really see trends. I think 8 is still not good enough of a sample size. Also, you should really test against different teams with different formations and different tactics. So maybe 20 with one tactic, you should maybe play 60 to 80 games against 3 to 4 teams, and then do the same for other tactics. As a squad strength, I would say pick a similar team or a better team. Against worse teams, the tactic doesn't matter so much. You can easily dominate them just with the quality of your players. But it's about a team of a similar strength with the same kind of quality, or even a little bit better, that you need that edge to defeat them. So of course, pick those kind of teams for your testing. And another tip to improve it is, I would say, to try extremes. So maybe first do more like a park the bus test, then maybe do a very offensive one, do one where you're very direct in your play, one where you're more controlling, and then see out of those extremes what tends to do better, and from there you can maybe fine-tune and put things a little bit more in the middle. So of course it gives you, with large differences, it gives you more information, and with small differences it's very hard to see. So try a bit more extreme, maybe even put a slider sometimes on like super wide or super narrow or super compact defense, and then see what happens. Important disclaimers. I just said maybe you should test 3 tactics with 80 matches each. It's like 240 matches, and you have to wait like 5 minutes to 10 minutes, right, sometimes, before you can keep doing another friendly. So this is going to be super time consuming. Maybe you want to spread it out, your testing, like every day, do like 5 to 10 matches and then build it up throughout the preseason. But yeah, keep this in mind. It is super time consuming. But the better the test is, the more extensive testing you do, I think the better results you get. Another thing you have to keep in mind is that there's no perfect tactic. Maybe your tactic works well against certain formations, but not against others. This will always be the case. So there is not one perfect tactic, but I believe there are some tactics who generally do better than others. Then the individual instructions, of course, complicate things a lot. But I would say maybe don't give individual instructions sometimes, or do a couple of just basic ones and trust with the team instructions. They are more important for me. And then finally, if you found, let's say you did tons of testing and you found a tactic that really works, but then in the league or cup you lose 3 to 4 times in a row. Don't panic. It can still be very bad luck, bad RNG. Really judge it maybe only after one half of the season. So if the tactic worked in testing, put your trust in that tactic. Don't give up on it. It did work with such a huge sample set. It should work in general, but you can have bad RNG, you can have bad luck. So don't panic. Some final thoughts. Testing is great. It can really help you understand the engine. It can help you understand the game better. You can start to see some patterns, some kind of basic principles and rules that apply to the whole game and to each tactic. So it really helps to do it. It can give you an edge. So I think this is the one thing you want to look for, is that when you face a team that has the same kind of players, can you beat them more, let's say, than, how should I say this? Like more than 50%, right? So maybe if it's like a similar team, it will be 50-50, but can you get that edge that you beat them 60 to 70 to 80% of the times? There's always chances that you lose, but can you do relatively better? Then consistency is, I think, the most important things. First, The testing, be very consistent, keep testing this tactics in the same ways and see what changes. And then when you have your tactic, keep using it for at least 10 to 15 games to see does it work or not. Don't give up, don't panic, don't keep changing, because that's going to be very confusing. And finally, I am not an expert in testing, not at all. I don't do it so much. There are some guys who are way, way, way better than me. But just do it, just like I did. Just start doing it. Put in some stuff in an Excel sheet. See, can I tell some things from this data? And if you keep doing it, if you keep, expanding your tests, you will get better eventually. So just do it, and you will get better at testing, and you will understand the engine better, and eventually get that edge to beat teams more often than you do right now. All right, that was my video. If you have any questions, feedback, or let me know how you test, it would be very good for the whole community to maybe share the thoughts in the comments about testing. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.